He's an associate in foresight research and innovation for Erupt, and he leads the global digital environment of Next work within the firm. He's responsible for the business development of real-time synthetic environments. Alvise is also a registered architect in Milan, Italy, educated in architecture, town planning, conservation, and computation. And he believes that successful design cannot be separated from tools. Please welcome Alvise Simondetti.
Thank you. Thank you, Brian. So I'm thrilled to be here. I have spent about 15 years in Europe, and I created a community of people that we now call Digital Environments Network. So to see real which I believe aims to create a community of diverse people around reality workflow or high fidelity workflow. It's really exciting. I'm going to talk about, I have 8 minutes, so I'm going to talk about one very specific thing which I believe is where the reality workflow is necessary. I'm very lazy, we are very skimpy, and we just do it when we have to do it. So this area that I'm going to talk about is this new opportunity of crowdsourcing design feedback. So as Brian said, I'm an architect, and architects imagine a future world, and then they communicate it through visualizations, and they hope, and then they get it approved, and they detail it, they build it, and then they hope it's going to work. Well, I think in that process there is way too much risk, and I think a lot of people think that way too. So what we are trying to do is we are trying to take the risk out of there. And we are trying to, using technology. So here, I'm going to demonstrate this by a case study. This is a large station, it's a large station project in Hong Kong. It's a public space. It's almost like a city. The station handles currently 1 million passengers per day. This is twice as many as the largest transport hub in the United States, which is Penn Station, I learned from Wikipedia. And it's designed to transform, and currently being transformed into a exponentially more complex interchange. So from 2 lines, the red and the green line that comes to the station at the moment at Admiralty, and 4 platforms, we are going to 4 lines, 8 platforms. The number of people that use the station is going to stay the same, because 1 in 6 people goes through the station in Hong Kong every day, and some of the people may not be able to go out of the house, etc. So we don't see that number increasing, but the complexity of the journeys is going to increase. So this is an interesting challenge for the flows in the station. So we are going to be focusing on to a design issue, which is the wayfinding inside the station. And what we did is we created, we have a wayfinding specialist. They look through the drawings and the models of the architects, and they find and they assess the success of the signage design. In this case, it's nearly 1,000 signs. And we supported the wayfinding team by creating an interactive environment that is realistic. Here, the realism is driven specifically by what is the minimum that you can do in order to get some meaningful feedback by users. And our specialists spend time with the users in order to ask them to speak loudly their experience and gather the feedback, and went back to the client with 250 changes. This is 25%. The design, I want to stress, it was version 18 of the design, so not the first sketch. Some of the expert signage designer in the world had worked over a year on this package of design, and we found a quarter of them were wrong. Interestingly enough, also the client, the signage design team, only accepted half of our suggestions of the change. Signage design is not a science, it's an art. So I'm going to move on. So this is the context in which we've been working on. And this is the station. You see the seven levels underground. You see this big atrium with some of the 48 escalators flying, sometimes 4 stories underground. And here you go, banks of 4 escalators stacked. And this process that I described, we called it manned testing. You saw in the initial pictures, the way we do it is we put 3 monitors, so it gives you peripheral view, and we let people go around. What we then thought is, can we improve this process? And so what we did is we put in, this is another station, is a King's Cross station in London. We put this into a public exhibition. And in the public exhibition, we managed to gather about 1,000 user journeys during the 3 months of the exhibition. And you see here, you can imagine the tracks, and you can see the overbridge, the red line in the drawing, and you see that red line appearing here from a top view. And what we found, just as an example of what you can find from a lot of users, is that the people all navigated through the overbridge, and when they arrived at the end, they find 2 staircases. And it turns out that people in front of an equivalent choice stop. This is a human behavior. I'm not an expert, probably something that every expert knows, but it emerged from the data. And the difficult thing is, of course, is finding the challenge, not the solution. The solution is the one that there's many solutions. The one they adopted was to make a bigger staircase on one side. That made the choice not equivalent, and everyone started flowing. So this is all good. But it was, the people didn't have specific tasks. So the next opportunity we had was to put it at the Venice Biennale exhibition that runs for 6 months. And so we put in the user testing table, which there is a copy here in the exhibition hall. So I invite you to come and try it yourself. And here we had it for 6 months. And in 6 months, we, to my surprise, we gathered more than 1,500 journeys. These are people that actually click and do our test case. And the results of that we are currently analyzing. What are we looking for? The first thing we are looking for is to improve our suggestion of change ability. Half of our changes were accepted by the client. We are hoping that with a large crowd, thousands of people, we will be stronger in our negotiations in order to get more of the changes and hopefully, obviously, a better design at the end. The other thing we are hoping for, but is slightly more ambitious, is that by looking at the crowds, by working with the public, we can actually come up with some confusion points. This is what we are after, confusion points in the station that the expert couldn't find. And this has large implications, if you take it out from wayfinding, has large implications in the profession. So here are some of these journeys that we are currently analyzing. I'm concluding now. Stations is just an example. We've been working on hospitals, again, what we call operationally driven designs, and cities, navigation through cities. We also thought, well, we should take this beyond wayfinding. Wayfinding is a very narrow bit of design, and we can take it into master planning. So here we have a large master plan, and what we developed is a prototype tool in which we give to developers, and the developers will start playing with the parameters. Here the parameters are percentage of residential versus commercial, what we call CBD is the shape of the city with flat or pointy in the middle, and engineering parameters. We have a whole set of engineering strategy for the master plan, what we are looking for is to trace the behavior of the developers, and that way define the design space in which the master plan will occur. Lastly, it's all desktop-based. Even the one you see over in the hall is all desktop-based, but if you want to do crowdsourcing for real, you need to go online. And so we've been working with our colleagues at 3D Repo, and it's a startup that came out of a collaboration of Arup with academia, and they are using WebGL, and they are offering these environments online. So we may move from 1,000 people to 10,000, 100,000, maybe 1 million people. These are public projects. They are going to happen in your backyard. It is possible that we can get large crowds and therefore better data and results to inform our design. We are excited about it, and come and visit us at the kiosk. Thank you.
Thanks, Alvise.